All right, let's continue our coverage following yesterday's critical meeting between President Cyril Ramaphosa and his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump at the White House. Dr. Bob Wekesa is an analyst for the African Center for the Study of the United States, joining me to unpack yesterday's bilateral talks. Then, Dr. Wekesa, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it. How do you think this went down then, when one considers how Africa's stance may also have been significant in all of this?
No, I think, in all fairness, it went better than would have been expected for various reasons. One, it was not a Zelensky train smash that we saw, and not anything close to Trump's meetings with his counterparts from other parts of the world, where discussions have been a little more fractious. Of course, there were areas of great disagreement, disagreements and basically fractious discussions, particularly when certain videos and Trump's sentiments on issues to do with genocide and so forth came up. But in the end, I guess South Africa did pretty well.
Yeah, do you think this helped President Donald Trump understand things better? I mean, do you think he walks away from this meeting understanding South Africa better, understanding the situation in the country better at all?
I think it does, because the position he entered the meeting with is substantially different from the one that he left the meeting with, for that matter. But at the same time, one has to understand where Trump is coming from. He's playing to his white extremist base in the US. And to that extent, it's a political gimmick, it's a political strategy. And therefore, even if he does understand the situation a little better, he'll be looking at what he can draw from the South Africa-US relations or the situation in South Africa to continue fanning, to continue playing to the gallery in terms of his voting base in the US, which, as I said, is white extremism.
Yeah, and I suppose he had the ammunition to do that then, having played what was a video montage then of Julius Malema's chants that ultimately could have buried the conversation. Was there sufficient ability, by your view, of how the US then take and understand South Africa to be after seeing that video especially?
No, I think, one, it was a selective video, and to the extent that it must have been supplied or provided by some of the South Africans who have umbrage or are opposed to some of the policies like the Land Expropriation Act and other matters. It served their interests, and they tried to message that through that video. But at the same time, it was countered, I think, quite effectively by the presence of some of the, rich South African whites who are apparently Trump's friend, and they're also friends of Ramaphosa to some extent, or at least they see that we cannot go to that extreme. These chants and Malema's antics are on record, they are reality, but there's an alternative view of looking at this. Yeah. And perhaps that is a key message here.
So where does this leave South Africa-US relations, do you think?
No, I think now it provides an opportunity for negotiation, and this will be tough negotiations. Remember, this was a press briefing, essentially for the gallery. It was the Trump approach to diplomacy, which is, doing things in public so that he can garner political support and so forth. But to the extent that there was almost a balance in views on the end of the political end and the economic end, in President Ramaphosa, for example, appealing for investment, the presence of business people who are also golfing buddies of Trump, the idea that perhaps negotiation will be undertaken with the people like Elon Musk and tech companies to come in and so forth. It actually provides an opportunity for negotiation on both the political and the economic end, which is not too bad, I think, given the situation in which the South Africa-US relations have been for over 10 years, but more, in a big way over the last 3 months.
Yeah, what do you think Africa looks like off the back of this? Because conversations around the rest of the continent could certainly be had, whether it be by way of tariffs, whether it be by way of sanctions across certain African nations off the back of something like this. And what do you think African leaders then take from this interaction back to their constituents as well?
I think it was a big learning curve for African leaders that when they meet with Trump, they should not expect the normal, conventional, normative diplomatic approaches, that they should be prepared for ambushes, for attacks, and they should then be aware of how to approach Trump, be it President Museveni or President Tshisekedi or President Ruto of Kenya and so forth. And I think that's one big learning lesson. In this instance, I think the Ramaphosa approach of one looking at the relationships that Trump has in any particular country is important, because for Trump, the relations, the diplomacy is not really just formal or state to state.
Yeah.
It is, who are my friends in these countries? Who are the big business people, and what transactions can we undertake with them? So these African countries, leaders should approach Trump with understanding that they'll have to offer something. In the case of Ramaphosa, he talked of critical minerals. He talked of the 600 business companies that are here in South Africa. And so if you are in the DRC or Rwanda or Sudan, you should be thinking of what can we offer Trump as a trade deal.
Is it not all feel like it's all paying homage to him? That it's all about pleasing Donald Trump first before getting anything else in the world, and that no deal works now in fairness. It first works in ensuring that Donald Trump gets what he wants first. Is that, do you feel like, the new state of negotiations and global diplomacy?
I think that is you're on point, because the Trump administration and Trump himself is into relations. Are you my friend or not? At a personal level. So unless a country wants to say, no, look, we are not going to go that route, we want a principled approach to negotiations, to diplomacy, to relations. In that case, then you do not want to deal with Trump at all. You'll say, we do not agree with your approach. We'll wait until the 4 years after you leave power. Perhaps we can go back to working with the US, trying to build partnerships. But if you really want to work with Trump, I don't think you can evade the real politique of this current White House, where you have to massage his ego, where you should be prepared for the fact that he will invite you for negotiations with the cameras, glaring, and that you need to have friends of friends that to help you do that, not just ambassadors and diplomats. So I think this is the reality. And in fact, in this particular case, South Africa has always pursued a foreign policy of respect for human rights, democracy, and so forth, and fairness to all, particularly in terms of the racial, composition of the country. But you can see that President Ramaphosa stepped away from that and went on, kind of mollifying and praising Trump and so forth. So I think African leaders have to make a choice between kowtowing to Trump so that they can get the benefits they want, trade deals, support of various forms and so forth, or say, look, we do not agree with this approach, it's not what we are used to, and therefore we shall disengage or not engage with the US going forward. Yeah, so I guess in many ways we should be thankful that it didn't go any worse and it wasn't just a shouting match then in what we saw out of that Zelensky moment, as you said. No, certainly it was, I think, a smart strategy, because you realize most of the meetings between leaders, it is a conversation between the two leaders. In this particular instance, I guess the South African leadership looked at the situation and decided we'll bring in other voices. Johan Rupert, the COSATU representative, Minister John Steenhuisen, who is also DA leader. And so at some point you could see that Ramaphosa was quiet, observing, and so forth. So I think that is a strategic approach that perhaps can be tapped by other leaders, that you do not want to enter into a fray one-on-one.
Yeah.
You can help soften the situation by bringing in other voices that kind of bridge the gap between, say, South Africa and the US. And I think that will play out in other African countries.